Good morning, children. Today we are going to discuss Chapter 2 of your ICSE history book. The name of the chapter is Major Issues After the Independence of India, and in this module we are going to discuss the refugee problem. Let us first understand the objectives of the topic. The first objective is to discuss the refugee problem, the problem of the people who have to move to another country and leave their own country. The second problem, which we will discuss, is transfer of asset, that means property, and river water dispute between both the countries. And finally, we will discuss how the princely states were merged into India. Means integration of princely states. The topic of this module is to discuss the refugee problem. In this module, I will discuss with you the problem of the people who had to leave their country at the time of partition and independence of India. Before going through this topic, let us first understand the new terms related to this topic. The first word is refugee. A refugee is someone who has been forced to flee his or her country because of persecution, war, or violence. A refugee has a well-founded fear of persecution for reasons of race, religion, nationality, political opinion, or membership in a particular social group. Most likely, the refugees cannot return home or are afraid to do so. In short, refugees are those people who had to leave their country and move to some other country because of fear of being killed in their own country. The next word is migration. The process of people traveling to a new place to live, usually in large number. So when people at a mass level leave their country and move to some other place, it is called as migration. The next word is rehabilitation. The action of restoring someone to health or normal life through training and therapy after imprisonment, addiction, or illness. We can say rehabilitation means the action of restoring something that has been damaged to its former condition. Rehabilitation is the process of helping those people who had been victim of war, civil war, or natural calamity so that they can live a normal life. The next word is displaced person. A person expelled, deported, or impelled to flee from his or her country of nationality or habitual residence by the forces or consequences of war or civil war. So, displaced person is a person who has to fled away from his country because he had fear of being killed in his country because of war or internal disturbance in the country, or we can say civil war. The next word is NWFP. NWFP or Northwest Frontier Province was a province of British India and later of Pakistan, established on 9th November 1901 and known by this name until 2010, when it was redesignated as the province of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa on 19 April 2010 following the passing of 18th Amendment to the Constitution of Pakistan. The name of Northwest Frontier Province was changed on April 19, 2010 by bringing a change in the Constitution of Pakistan by the 18th Constitutional Amendment, and now this area is called as Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and it is modern-day Pakistan's boundary with Afghanistan. In the picture, an orange shaded area is shown, that is Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, and it shares its boundary with Afghanistan. The next word is communal rights. Communal rights are nothing but clashes between two or more communities owing to the clashes of communal interest. So basically, communal rights are the conflict between different religions or communities. The aftermath of partition of India in 1947 to create a separate Islamic state of Pakistan for Muslims saw large-scale sectarian strife and bloodshed throughout the nation. During the independence and partition plan of India and Pakistan, there was communal violence at large scale which took place between Hindus and Muslims. The next word is evacuate. A person who is withdrawn or removed from a place of danger, a disaster area, etc., is called as evacuate. So, a person who has to leave his own country because of any danger of war or civil war or any natural calamity is called as evacuate. The next word is evacuate property. According to the Evacuate Property Act 1950, evacuate property means any property of an evacuee, whether held by him as owner or as a trustee or as a beneficiary or as tenant or in any other capacity, and includes any property which has been obtained by any person from an evacuee after August 14, 1947 by any mode of transfer. In short, there were large number of people during partition of India and Pakistan who had to abandon their property and move to other country. The government of India made it clear that those people who had come to India from East Pakistan or West Pakistan after August 14, 1947 would be given the properties of those people who had gone to East Pakistan or West Pakistan. This was called as the Evacuee Property Act. Now let us discuss the topic of this module. In today's module, we will discuss the refugee problem. By the end of the Second World War, it was clear that the British would leave India as its economy was totally shattered by the expenses it had to bear in the Second World War. In 1947, communal riots broke out in India, resulting in death of many innocent people. The reason behind the communal riots was the demand for a separate nation for the Muslims by Muhammad Ali Jinnah, which was not acceptable to Mahatma Gandhi and other Congress leaders. So, the basic reason of communal riots between Hindus and Muslims was the demand of Muhammad Ali Jinnah and other leaders of Muslim League for a separate country of Pakistan on the basis of religion, which was not acceptable to Mahatma Gandhi and other leaders of Congress party. The last Viceroy of India, Lord Mountbatten, declared that partition was the only solution to solve the problem of communal rights. Hence, Congress accepted the partition plan with heavy heart. Though Congress was not in favor of partition of the country, but the last Viceroy of India, Lord Mountbatten, declared that partition was the only solution, as Muhammad Ali Jinnah was adamant on his demand of getting separate country. He made it clear to the Congress leaders that it's better to have a small country but a peaceful country rather than having a huge country where communal riots are everyday's problem. So, Congress leaders, including Mahatma Gandhi, accepted the partition plan of India. On your screen, you can see the map of India according to the Mountbatten plan. India was divided and two dominions of India and Pakistan were created. Here, with the yellow color, you can see India and its capital, New Delhi. This area was created after dividing Punjab, and this was called as the West Pakistan. Here also Bengal was divided and East Bengal was called as the East Pakistan. In 1947, India became independent, and now the British declared that Indian people should rule the country with their elected representatives. The partition was made so hastily that it created a great problem, mainly the communal problems. Students, communal problem means riots between Hindus and Muslims. Lakhs of people were forced to leave their ancestral houses and had to enter into two new countries of India and Pakistan. So many people in India and Pakistan had to leave their forefathers' property and move to other country. The division of Punjab and Bengal witnessed the biggest migration ever known in the world history. So basically, two states were divided. One was Punjab and second was Bengal. Number of people had to leave their country and move to other country, which is known as migration. This problem of migration from one place to another, from India to Pakistan and from Pakistan to India, may be divided into three heads. The first is the incoming refugees from West Punjab, now in Pakistan, to East Punjab. The second problem was the refugees from Northwest Frontier Province, which now is called as Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. The third problem was the refugees from province of Sindh. And the fourth problem was the refugees from East Bengal to West Bengal. The word refugee, I had made it clear in the new terms also. Refugee means a person who has to leave his country and move to another country because of fear of being killed in his own country. It can be due to war or civil war. Students, on your screen, you can see the map of India during the time of partition. This red boundary here depicts the full Indian kingdom during the British Empire. The brown color shows India, the green color shows Pakistan, West Pakistan and East Pakistan, which later on became Bangladesh in 1971. The grey color shows the princely states, Hyderabad and Kashmir, which were given the choice of either to join India or Pakistan or to remain independent. And both Hyderabad and Kashmir decided that they would remain independent. Yellow star shows the areas, the problematic area where communal rights were there. So basically Punjab, Gujarat and Rajasthan were the states where tension was there between Hindus and Muslims. The red arrows shows the movement of Hindu and Sikh refugees. Here you can see from West Pakistan, they were coming to Punjab, Rajasthan and Gujarat. And here also from East Pakistan, they were coming to West Bengal and northeastern states. And the green arrow shows the movement of Muslim refugees to Pakistan. Here you can see from Kashmir, from Punjab and for Gujarat, the Muslim community were moving towards West Pakistan. From West Bengal also and from northeastern states also, they were moving towards East Pakistan, which later became Bangladesh. Let's discuss first the problem of refugees from West Punjab who had come to east part of Punjab and settled down here. According to the report of Government of India between September 1947 and March 1948, a little more than 1 million people crossed over from new state of Pakistan to East Punjab in India on foot, over 1.5 million by rail, 364,000 by motor transport and 28,000 by air. The main migration in Punjab in both directions took place for the last 4 months of 1947. The rehabilitation of millions of people was a Herculean task. Students, here rehabilitation means the action of restoring something that has been damaged to its former condition. So to help the people, very soon a Director General of Rehabilitation was appointed for distribution of lands, providing shelters, that means homes, and jobs for those huge displaced persons. The central government spent about 22 million from 1947 to 1969 for the resettlement of those displaced persons. Children, we have already done the meaning of displaced person. Displaced person is a person who is expelled, deported from his or her country of nationality by war or internal disturbance, that is civil war. Gradually, the peasants and farmers from West Punjab were fairly rehabilitated in a reasonable span of time. The Punjab government, with the cooperation of central government, planned some industrial towns like Faridabad, Nilokhari in Kurukshetra and Rajpura for them. So these three places like Faridabad, Nilokhari and Rajpura was chosen by the central government for settling the refugees who were coming from the West Punjab. Within few years, the Government of India, in cooperation with the Government of Punjab, settled down the problem of refugees who were coming from West Pakistan. Now the next problem was refugees from Northwest Frontier Province or NWFP. On your screen you can see this area with brown color. It is NWFP or Northwest Frontier Province. It was former federally administered tribal areas, so tribal people basically were living here. And by the Amendment Act in the Constitution of Pakistan in 2010, this area came to be known as Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. The refugees from Northwest Frontier Province had come from a different situation. They were mostly town people. Their properties were destroyed by communal rights. Communal rights means the conflict on the basis of religion which took place between Hindus and Muslims during partition time. There was no corresponding evacuee property in India that could be allowed to them. Students, according to Evacuee Property Act, which was passed in 1950, evacuee property means any property of an evacuee. That means a person who has been forced to leave his country, whether held by him as an owner or as a trustee or as beneficiary or as a tenant or in any other capacity, and includes any property which has been obtained by any person from evacuee after 14 August 1947 by any mode of transfer. So already the properties which were abandoned by the people who have gone to Pakistan were distributed among the refugees who have come from Pakistan. So government was not left with any other property now that could be given to those people who were coming from East or West Pakistan. The people from NWFP or Northwest Frontier Province had to live in camp along the Delhi-Mathura main road, which was 16 miles south of Delhi. Here, an area of 6 square miles of land was allotted for construction of a new township close to village of Faridabad. It was difficult for the government to rehabilitate the people who were coming from Northwest Frontier Province. So they were asked to stay in the camps, and later on an area of 6 square mile was allotted for the housing of these people near Faridabad. Now let us discuss about those refugees who had come from Sindh area. Sindh now became part of newly created state of Pakistan. Immediately after partition, there was no communal problem in Sindh, but very soon communal trouble broke out and a large number of Hindus left Sindh. The Hindus of Sindh fled to Bombay by boat, others crossed into Rajasthan. So basically Bombay and Rajasthan were the two places where the Hindus of Sindh area had moved to after partition of India and Pakistan. Gradually they widely spread over other parts of India. Unlike the Punjabi refugees, a number of Sindhi people were able to move away with their possessions like gold and cash. They did not require government assistance for their rehabilitation. As the Hindus who were coming from Sindh, they were the trading community, so they were having movable property like gold and cash. So they did not require the government assistance to rehabilitate them or to provide them shelter. Whereas the Punjabi refugees were basically the peasants who did not have movable property. They were basically the owners of the land. So government has to do a lot of work to help them to settle down in the country. And now let us discuss about the Hindu refugees from East Bengal who had to suffer the most. This map clearly depicts the partition of Bengal in 1947. The dark green color area shows The areas which were given to East Bengal, that means Pakistan. So this entire was East Bengal or East Pakistan. The light green color depicts the districts of Sylhet. Basically it was in Assam, but then it was given to East Bengal, and later on this became a part of Bangladesh. The dark blue color shows the West Bengal, the area which India got here, and the sky blue color shows areas annexed to West Bengal by Indian government. Here this area was princely state of Kutch, Bihar, the second princely state of districts of Purnia, Bihar, and the third was Purila district of Bihar. So these were also annexed into West Bengal by the Indian government. The Hindu refugees from East Bengal were the worst sufferers. Nearly lakhs of refugees had crossed over from East Bengal to West Bengal. The exodus of Hindus from East to West Bengal was massive. Here, students' exodus means a mass departure of people. By contrast, the number of Muslims who left West Bengal to East Bengal after partition was relatively small. Large number of Hindu population had come from East Bengal or East Pakistan to West Bengal. Comparatively, very less Muslims had gone from West Bengal to East Bengal or East Pakistan. So it put more pressure on the government of West Bengal as well as on central government to rehabilitate such large number of refugees or displaced persons. Between 1947 and 1967, at least 6 million Hindu refugees from East Bengal, which has now come to be known as East Pakistan, crossed over to West Bengal. This influx of such a large number of people threatened the present social, economic and political system of West Bengal. Unlike the position of Punjab, here the flow was almost entirely one way. The migration in Punjab took place over a limited period, but in Bengal, it was a continuous flow stretching over years. To rehabilitate the people who were coming from East Bengal, now East Pakistan, was a Herculean task for the government. It put great challenges before the government of West Bengal as well as for the central government to settle these people. The migration in Punjab only took place within few months, but here in Bengal, the migration took place at least 20 to 25 years. So it was difficult to settle down the refugees who were coming from East Bengal or East Pakistan. The policy of the Government of India regarding the refugees from East Bengal, which has now become Pakistan, was quite different from those of Punjab. The agreed policy of India and Pakistan was to execute a total exchange of population in Punjab. Each side followed a policy to rehabilitate all who crossed over either way. Regarding the refugees of Punjab, both Pakistan and Indian government decided that total population should be transferred and each side would try to help those people who have come to their side by providing them shelter and to rehabilitate them. In case of Bengal, the two new governments nurtured the belief that after the return of normal condition in the troubled areas, most of the displaced persons would recross the border and would return to their respective homes. So it was decided by the Government of India, the Government of West Bengal and the Government of Pakistan that after the situation comes to be normal, the people would again cross the border and they would go to their respective places of residence. Thus, the Government of India and the Government of West Bengal entered into an agreement with the Government of Pakistan that neither state should assign immovable property to the refugees or to the incoming refugees to West Bengal. So by an agreement between the government of India, the government of Pakistan and the government of West Bengal, it was decided that the refugees who were moving across east and west part of Bengal, they would not be given any land or any home to reside, and after the situations would be normal, they would again go back to their respective motherlands. But in reality, the anticipated return of Hindu refugees to their original homes at East Bengal never materialized. But later on, the government of Pakistan refused to accept this treaty. They did not accept that the Hindus who have gone from East Bengal or East Pakistan to West Bengal should again return back to their country. According to the government records, 33,98,000 refugees had come from East Bengal, which later came to be known as East Pakistan, by November 1950, while only 15,88,000 Muslims had left West Bengal and Assam for East Bengal, that is East Pakistan. Now, apart from those displaced persons, there was another problem of resettlement of Muslim refugees who had been displaced from their ancestral homes due to communal riots but refused to go to new state of Pakistan. Students, when Mountbatten Plan was declared, Mahatma Gandhi also said that those Muslims who wanted to stay back in India, they could live in India. But during the communal riots, there were a large number of Muslims who lost their property. But now they wanted to settle down again in India, but they were not having their property. During these communal riots of August and September 1947, huge number of Muslims were displaced by Hindu neighbors. During the communal riots, many Hindu people forced the Muslims to leave their property, and now these people wanted to get back their ancestral or forefathers' property. At the beginning of September 1947, many thousands of uprooted Muslims encamped opposite the great Jama Masjid at Delhi. Some of them went to Pakistan, but a great majority refused to go and appealed to Gandhiji to make arrangements for their return to their ancestral homes. Gandhiji quickly responded to their appeal, but he was assassinated very soon. Mahatma Gandhi accepted the appeal of these Muslim people and asked the government of India to do something so that these people can again get back their ancestral property. But after this statement, he was assassinated or killed. The assassination created great impact on the Hindus, and they now welcomed those displaced persons to come back to their ancestral homes. The central government, under the leadership of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, tried its best to solve this great problem of the homeless people with a humanitarian and sympathetic attitude. We have discussed in this module the background of the refugee problem, where we have discussed about the meaning of the word refugee, that refugee is a person who has to leave his country because of fear of being killed in his own country. This fear could be because of war or civil war. We have discussed about the refugees who came from West Punjab and how the government of Punjab, in cooperation with the central government, tried to rehabilitate the people. Then we have discussed about the refugees from Northwest Frontier Province or NWFP, as government was not having enough property now that could be given to the refugees of Northwest Frontier Province. So they were asked to live on Delhi Mathura Road in the camps till the government could provide them shelter and rehabilitate them. Then we have discussed about the refugees from Sindh. They were trading community, so they were also carrying cash with them, so government did not have to do much about them. They settled down themselves in Bombay and Rajasthan. And finally, we have discussed about the people who suffered the most, the refugees, the Hindu refugees from East Pakistan. As the number of Hindus who were coming from East Pakistan to West Bengal were 3 times more as compared to the Muslims who were leaving West Bengal
and going to East Pakistan. So it put more pressure on the economy of West Bengal and the Indian government. These are the questions we have discussed in this module. Question number 1 is, what do you mean by refugee problem? From which parts of the country did the refugees come to India? The next question is, what was the function of the Director General of Rehabilitation? Next question, what was the agreement signed between the Government of India and the Government of Pakistan regarding the refugees of Bengal? And the last question is, how was the refugee problem of Bengal different from the refugee problem of Punjab? On your screen, you can see a link. If you want to explore more on this topic, you can use this link. With the help of this explanation and internet, you are advised to make notes of this topic. We'll meet you in next session. Till then, have a nice day.